Practice management, AR follow-up, denied overview. One of the standard billing workflows is resolving insurance denials. This could include an entire claim denial or individual line items being denied, even in conjunction with partial payments. Within Prognosis, the denials are identified during the EOB/ERA cash entry, and while the transactions are being posted, the cashier has an opportunity of identifying the denial as no action or work in progress, or can actually go ahead and resolve the denial in conjunction with the cash posting. And this is what will determine whether the denial goes over to the denied screen for follow-up from an additional person. Denials are displayed at a line item level with an applicable reason code for each charge code, and can be automatically cleared off by posting a corrected payment entry for the line item. Or it can be manually cleared during your follow-up processes by selecting an appropriate denied action. So I'm going to toggle into Prognosis, and you'll notice that I'm logged in here as my biller, Quinn Perkins, and I have selected under my AR follow-up tab, the denied screen. Now this screen is populated from the EOB screen during cash posting. You'll notice that some of the names get repeated, as we see here with Chewy Anderson. In the far left, the ERA number is repeated. To the right of his name, we see the same claim ID repeated. This is because denials are at a line item level. Now, Chewy's claim may actually have more than those two line items present, and the other line items have either not been processed yet, or may be paid, or partially paid. This screen is going to reflect only the line items that have been denied within the EOB. Now, cash posting is handled in a separate video, so I'm not going to go into those details at this level. But the cashier does have the opportunity during posting a denial to resolve it. If she does so, then it will never appear here on the denied screen. What we're looking at is a reflection of denials that the cashier takes no action on. And the purpose here would be for somebody else in the office to do the appropriate follow-up. Now, as we just glance through the screen, we'll see in the far left we have the ERA number, and it is hyperlinked so that you can open the ERA just to look at the transaction details. We see who the EOB came from. We've got our patient name, a hyperlink to the claim, and then, of course, some claim-specific data. Now, this middle column that says code is going to be the CPT or HCPCS code that is denied. That is the applicable charge row to which the denial is attached. And if you look to the right of that, the status is a category of denial. Just scrolling down through this column, we see that we have coding denials, provider issue denials, insurance issues, medical record issues, and so on. And then the specific reason within that category, we see here when we hover over, the tooltip pops up with the full narrative of that reason code. Now we're going to come back to the action button in a moment, because that is how we resolve the denial. Now the little yellow notepad is going to be a reflection of the actual remittance denial. When we open this, you'll notice here at the bottom, it gives us the reason code as well as the description that is associated to that specific line item. And then here in the far right, we see the dollar amount associated with the line item that is being denied. Now finishing off the denied screen here in the upper left, you'll notice a row of icons. These are claim focused based on the row that you have selected below. We've also got filters where you can filter the display of the data on this screen based on how you would like to work them. And of course at the bottom, we have the opportunity of processing our denials, printing it if we need a physical report, or exporting it to Excel. Now, these are covered in a separate workflow video, so we're not going to go into detail here, but we're going to go in and look at how we can resolve a denial. I'm going to click the action icon, and we're going to discuss all of the different resolution actions. Now, I mentioned briefly that during the cash posting process, the cashier has the ability of reconciling the denial simultaneously to posting it, and it would never show up on this screen. The reason it is on our screen is because while the denial's posted, no action was taken. But then underneath that, we see all of the available actions she could have taken. They're also now available to you at the point of follow-up. So in this example, if we want to just write off the $9, we're simply going to choose our action write-off, and then we can select our reason code. Now these reason codes are user-defined. If you have administrative access to the configuration screen, you can create the reasons that you need. Now, while we're looking at these other action codes here, you see the option to charge next responsible party. This would be a coordination of benefit flowing through the claim. So if we have a primary insurance denial and the patient has a secondary, this is simply going to move it out of the primary bucket into the secondary bucket so you can create the secondary claim. If there is no secondary or tertiary payer, then it will move into the patient responsibility. Now, these next three are pretty similar, and it depends on the specific reason for the denial as to which option you're going to choose. Typically, you're not going to have to create a new claim, but when it comes to deciding whether you should reopen the existing claim to fix something or just simply resend it without reopening it, this will be based upon whether or not the error is at a claim level or at the system level. Fixing a claim level error does require that you reopen the claim usually. However, if it's a system master, such as provider master, business unit, insurance master level issue, then once you have fixed the master file, you simply resend the claim without having to reopen it. Now, these next two, insurance agreed to pay and resolved, are intended primarily for cleanup. During your AR follow-up, maybe you're speaking with the insurance and they have told you that the check's in the mail. Or during all of your research, it has been determined that you've already resolved it another way. Maybe you've written off the balance, settled on a payment plan, whatever the scenario is. But for whatever reason, it never appeared on another EOB, and therefore a corrected entry never posted. And that is how these items automatically drop off the list. So these two options allow you to manually drop it off the list. Please note, however, these should be used with caution because typically if the entry is still here, that means that it is still unresolved and outstanding at the patient account level. So you do want to make sure before you actually flag these as resolved that they truly are resolved. And then finally, the final option, WIP, is kind of a hold status. Maybe you know what one of these above actions is going to be applicable eventually, but you don't know exactly which one yet. Or maybe you cannot completely fix it yet because you're waiting for the doctor's credentialing to go through, or you're waiting for the doctor to reply to you with the correct coding or whatever your scenario is. But you're using this on a daily basis and you don't want to keep looking at the same ones over and over again. So instead of leaving it as the default no action until you're able to resolve it, you can move it into WIP. Whichever of these decisions you make, once you've clicked the OK button here within the action pop-up, we're going to notice back here on the main denied screen, next to our action icon, you have a 2-digit acronym showing up. That abbreviation represents the action taken. We see here NA means no action, meaning you haven't looked at it yet. WO means you've written it off. CN, charge next responsible party, and so on. This is available for you to filter so that you can create these work lists based accordingly. We will go into more detail with all of those, of course, when we look at specific scenarios in the workflow videos. And then the last thing to do to get these processed is to simply click the process button here at the bottom. That is going to apply all of these actions that you have indicated within these pop-ups, remove them from this screen. Now, for those that you've chosen to rebill, they are going to be setting under the unprocessed claims and an entered status so that you can rebill them. That will be covered in our workflow video. You'll notice that you have the options here to print or export to Excel. You may want to do that before you process them if you need to keep a record, because once you process, they will leave this screen. So in review, denieds are posted during regular EOB ERA entry by the cashier. While posting the denial, the cashier can choose to indicate no action or work in progress, which will then send the transaction over to the AR follow-up denied screen. Or during posting, depending on workflow and scenario, the cashier can go ahead and automatically resolve it during the EOB transaction, and the denial will never hit the denied claim screen. Denial is at a line item level. When an EOB processes a claim, each line item is processed individually. You may have partial payment, partial denial on a claim. Only the denied line items will be tracked on the denied claim screen. This screen will automatically clear when another EOB transaction is posted that has a payment or a denial where action is taken. Otherwise, you can manually clear the screen by selecting the appropriate action pop-up. Remember, when doing so, you do want to make sure the claim is truly resolved. Removing it from the screen does not necessarily mean the claim has a zero balance.